To India, where vote counting is underway as Narendra Modi seeks a third term in power. The election has been seen as a referendum on his past decade as India's Prime Minister. And although the count is ongoing, a picture is starting to emerge. So far, it is not the landslide Modi and his BJP were hoping for. The party does appear headed for victory, but the opposition Congress party did better than expected, and thus Modi's majority could be smaller than forecast. Well, nonetheless, today, Modi himself took to the platform X, claiming that he and his allies are victorious. We've had that voiced. Take a listen.
People have placed their faith in NDA for a third consecutive time. This is a historical feat in India's history.
With me here in the studio, our India expert, Leela Jacinto. And Leela, look, what surprises have there been so far in the vote count?
Nadia, this was the election that everybody was saying was a foregone conclusion. And now we're talking about surprises. Well, the surprises are basically, in short, on three fronts. The ruling party, the opposition, and Uttar Pradesh, the country's most populous state. On the ruling party front, the surprises were actually that the ruling party scored its own goals. In the first place, it set up a target of more than 400 seats in a parliament of 543 seats. They set up the narrative of this supermajority. The supermajority narrative triggered fears that the ruling party, that Modi, if he wins a third term, will change the Indian constitution. This absolutely rallied and galvanized the opposition and the critics of Modi. The second own goal that the BJP, we can now look in hindsight and see, was that the fact that going into this election, it was so not free and fair. The jailing of top opposition leaders just before the election, the freezing of the main opposition party's bank account, the fact that the mainstream media was completely not free. What that did was that galvanized civil society and social media communicators, not the mainstream media. It also galvanized the opposition. And the opposition over the past decade has been a no-show. But this time, the surprise was that the opposition formed an alliance. They managed to have a seat-sharing deal, which surprised everyone, and they held it together. And most important, they kept to their message. Their message was a social justice platform. They never, they didn't deter from it, and they talked about the fears of changing the constitution, which led to the third surprise, which was the largest state of Uttar Pradesh. This has 80 seats in parliament. The saying in Indian politics is the road to New Delhi passes through Uttar Pradesh. Prime Minister Modi runs from this state, so does the main opposition leader run from this state. And this change in constitution also triggered fears, one, of the Muslims, because under Modi, the Muslims have been extremely seriously targeted, so they were never going to give the BJP the vote bank. Two, the BJP was making an outreach to India's lowest caste, the Dalits. These are so low on the caste system that they're actually out of the caste system. But what the Dalits feared was, with a change in constitution, would come a change in the equality that the Constitution of India guarantees them, and the right to have reservations or affirmative actions to pull up the backward caste. And so what we are seeing in Uttar Pradesh, which nobody saw coming, was that the party which is part of the opposition alliance, is doing extremely well. And we are now in sort of uncharted territory where could the person who holds the prime minister's seat in New Delhi not control Uttar Pradesh? It's very, very surprising.
Well, we're entering uncharted territory, as you say, so forgive me, Leela, for asking you then what's probably a rather difficult question. Look, what do you think happens now?
I think there's going to be a lot of coalition talking. If it's on the opposition front that needs to do coalition talks, they're very used to it. They've managed to put together a campaign, and they have shown some sign of being able to compromise. But ultimately, if they have to form government, that will be a difficult one. But the Modi years have been such an onslaught on them that they could pull it together. Completely uncharted waters is having Narendra Modi in a coalition. This is not a man who has ever been in a coalition. He is an absolute leader. He runs a personality cult, and his party is in an alliance with pretty big regional parties that are headed by seasoned politicians who are not going to roll over to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So this story continues, and it continues to be interesting.
All right, such an interesting election. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis, Leela Jacinto, for us there.